Hare Krishna. It's a great pleasure for me to address the esteemed academic fraternity of different educational institutions from different parts of India. Today, every educator has a great responsibility upon himself and herself to see that our youth, our youngsters whom we are teaching, they develop not only information but also develop a character and understanding of the self itself. This is very important since naturally your goal also is to make them cool-headed gentlemen, global citizens who can think, feel, and will in a very responsible way, responsible to themselves as well as to everybody else. Even to become responsible to themselves, there's a need for self-education, education about the self. Today's subject is concerned with spiritual and emotional health. Before that, I go into the emotional health. I'd like to speak about very basic what is health itself. If you see physical health, let's take physical health. This body is a system. It has got different organs, and the different organs have different interrelationship with them. Finally, it has to make the body stand and function. So each part has a role to play. So there has to be internal harmony between different parts of this whole body. Then you say it's a good health. Apart from that, good healthy practice is when you don't overexert your body to do more than what your body can do at that point of time. A child's capacity to lift a weight is different, adults is different. It can change. But when a child is a child, when he tries to lift 10 kilos, then it will just tear the muscles. So this is also very important in life, that just like how much I'm talking about physical body, it's very obvious. Very soon we'll come to our inner bodies. Then you will see it is not very obvious. People do big mistakes and tear their muscles and go into depression and whatnot. So it's an internal harmony among the different organs of the body, and also a very regulated approach to exertion of the body. Regulated. What to do, what not to do. We are very careful. Not only that, we are very careful about what we feed our body also. What to eat, what not to eat. Like that, lot of regulation we as human beings, we follow, which is completely different from animals. We do follow all those things. Now, it's not only most of us are conscious about the gross body, but we are not really. We use our emotional body, we use our intellectual body, but we are not really consciously using that. Okay. And very often, because we are not very conscious of these bodies, then we are not we're not trained ourselves to regulate them also. So it's very important that the total system, now I gave you example about the physical system. Now the self itself is a very, it's a multi component system. gross body is there. Then there is the emotional body, the mind. Then there is the intellectual body, which is the intelligence. Then there is a ego body, the social ego. So that ego body is also there as a layer of the self. And then beyond all this is the spiritual self. Now we will see, we'll learn about this different components of the body, different components of the self, total self. I'm just not this gross body, my total self. Let us learn from the words of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. This is a model of the self from Bhagavad Gita. I am projecting these images. This is the physical self, physical body. Then there is the emotional body. Then there is the intelligence body. Then there is a social ego body. Then there is Atma, the spiritual self. There is divine self, the Paramatma, higher self. So this total system, if you take, this is a system formed not out of only gross body and gross organs, but within this body is the three other bodies: emotional body, intelligence body, social ego body, and then there is the soul or the Atma, which is the driving force of the entire body. Because when a person dies, that Atma goes away. So Atma is a driving force, is an operator of this body. Now, some things about this system, let us see. Again, as I explained, physical health means harmony between the different organs of the body. Now, if I had to talk about the health of the total self, it is about harmonious functioning of all these different bodies. Not only harmonious functioning, as in the example of the physical body, according to its capacity only you can exert all these bodies. These bodies also have limitations. When you cross that limitation, it is called stress. No doubt, even a physical body, if my biceps can carry 5 kilos, and if I want to increase its capacity, no doubt, I need not stick to 5 kilos. I can increase, day by day by exercise, 100 grams, 200 grams, 300 grams. Maybe I can go up to 10 kilos. But today, if I take 10 kilo, my muscles will tear. There will be damage. So in the same way, stress is like that. A certain amount of stress is very healthy. God has given stress faculty to keep us moving. But if you overstress, then it is going to tear our inner organs, the inner subtle body organs, which are, my emotional body, my intelligent body, my social ego body. And ultimately, when any of these things malfunction, when there is disharmony, the experiencer is not any of them. The experiencer is the Atma. So Atma experiences this malfunctioning. Just like physical pain, if I tear my muscles, it's going to pain. Or it's going to fracture my bones if I fall somewhere. It is going to cause me pain. Body is not the one who experiences the pain, because body is a machine. Any doctor will tell you the pain is experienced by the self, the living person in this body. That's why a dead body does not experience pain. So we have this analogy from the physical body where all the organs have to harmoniously function for physical health. Similarly, for total health of the self, we need to understand that all my inner bodies have to harmoniously function. So for that, let us understand this classification of self. Okay, now before I go to the next point, this physical body, emotional body, intelligence body, and social body is all together, it is called the material self. According to Vedic understanding, according to our ancient rishis, this manas, buddhi, ahankara, they are called sukshma sharira. The sukshma sharira itself is a sharira, means it is not you. It is not the eternal self. It is an instrument of the eternal self. Similarly, gross body is also an instrument. The operator is the self, assisted by divine self, Paramatma. This is what some of the things that we'll elaborately discuss, this model of Bhagavad Gita about this self. So the first part is called the biopsycho mission. Biopsycho mission. Many people think that if thinking, feeling, willing, that mind and intellect is actually spirit, they think. No, it's not. It's not the spiritual body. It is still the intellectual body. Just like you can hold a software in a hard disk. That's nothing but intelligence. So similarly, this is, artificial intelligence. Instead of, now they are trying artificial intelligence. But material nature's intelligence is also a kind of, from the spiritual point of view, if you see, it is also artificial intelligence. It is a machine. Okay. So that is the reason why you scoop out some part of your brain, then that particular portion of your brain's activity goes away. Is it not? So there is a Sukshma Sharira, Jada Sharira, and then there is the soul, the spirit within this body. In the Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, Krishna says, Indriyani parani ahu, Indriyebhyaha parama manaha, manastu paraha buddhir, yo buddhi parastu saha. That means the senses are superior to the body. The working senses are superior to the dull matter, the body. Mind is higher than the senses. The intelligence is still higher than the mind. And then he, that means the soul, is the highest in this body. Beyond him is the super soul Paramatma. No, this is only the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna begins. But he completes this model only by about 17th, 18th, 13th chapter when it comes. He completes this model by saying that along with the Atma, there is a Paramatma also. So if we want to talk about our total health, then we have to understand this total system. Very obvious, isn't it? This is the knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita. And what is the essence of this? The next Krishna teaches in the same chapter, he says that even here he says one is higher than the other. Which higher means that the purpose of the higher one should be served by the lower one. The purpose of the soul should be served by the social ego body. The social ego body's such purpose should be served by my intellectual body. And my intellectual body's purpose should be served by my mind body, emotional body. And my emotional body's purpose should be served by the senses and the body. This is harmonious. Everything is harmonious. The entire system functions according to, because ultimately who is the experiencer? The self. Everybody has to function because we live for what? We live for experience. So my experience is not just limited to only sense experience. My experience is not limited to only to emotional experience. My experience is not only limited to intellectual experience. My experience is not limited to only social ego experience. My experience means all of them together. Each of these bodies, if you just like take physical body, the physical body, if you take, the physical body has experience of pain and pleasure. Is it not? That means something is we like and something we don't like about the physical body. What happens to our body, if it is painful happening, I don't like. I don't feel good about it. I feel good about physical pleasure. I don't feel good about physical pain. So, in the same way, now that I have, from the Bhagavad Gita's model, I have put the proposition before you that there are different kinds of different inner bodies which constitute the total self. Just as physical body has got pleasure and pain and desirable and undesirable, in the same way, our emotional body is also a God, has its own desirable and undesirable, which is called emotional pain and emotional pleasure. For instance, emotional body, the pleasures, you can say respect. Somebody respects you, you feel good. Your emotional body feels good. Somebody appreciates you, you feel good. Somebody shows you love and affection, you feel good. Just a few examples. Just to show that dualities are there in each of these bodies. Pleasure and pain in the same way. Therefore, emotional body has also pleasure and pain. Pain is lack of respect. Somebody insults you, lack of appreciation. Somebody abuses you, scolds you, shouts at you, disrespects you. You feel pain. Nothing happens to your physical body, but emotional body gets pain. So this is just an example of how, not only physical body, emotional body has also got desirables and undesirables, pains and pleasures. Pleasures are desirable, pains are undesirable. Similarly, for the intellectual body, if you see, there is a pleasure. Just like emotional body, mind is an emotional body. We call it as a full of emotions. The way to understand the intellectual body is also to understand it as a meaning body, meaning, purpose. You see, we all relish when there is a meaning. In let's say if you're working in a college, you feel there's a meaning in doing that job, not only for salary. There's a meaning in everything. So that your intellect also has to be satisfied. Not simply, my end of the month you get salary, you may not be happy. Only by that. You want a meaningful work, and which is part of a larger purpose that you have as a teacher. You want to be an educator, and in your life mission is to educate people. So it should fulfill all those purposes. So that gives satisfaction to your for your intellectual body. So sense of meaning, purpose, understanding, clarity, so many things. These are all the pleasures of the intellectual body. Similarly, pain is like, lack of meaning and, no connection. I don't have any understanding of the total system. And just like sometimes the wife says, tells the husband, you're not telling me anything. You are not giving me details of what property you're purchasing, where, what is, nothing you're telling me. You're simply buying, doing this, all those things. So that creates so much of emptiness in her intellect. No, I'm not understanding the big picture of my family, financial situation of the house. You're not telling me all this. So she gets pain. So this is called, I'm not understanding the situation. So lack of understanding of the situation gives us pain. Doubt is an intellectual pain. Confusion is an intellectual pain. Clarity is an intellectual pleasure. Harmony is an intellectual pleasure. We all enjoy harmony. Harmony means there is a system of many parts and they all work together, then it's harmony. When you feel how a part fits with the total system, then you feel the harmony. This is called intellectual pleasure. So we have inside, just like physical body, we have inside an emotional body and an intellectual body. Similarly, we have an ego body. Ego body is basically, it's a power body, power experience, social power. Social ego means social ego, social power. There's another kind of power, that's a physical body, security, and power to survive and all those things. That is all right. That is physical power. Now we're talking about social power, ego body. So there also the pleasure is if you have power. If you feel powerless in society, you will feel pain. Your ego, no self-confidence, nothing. I am nothing. I am not an achiever. This kind of. You want to be something in the society. You want power, ego, prestige in the eyes of others, social position, consolidated position. These are all positive ego pleasures. Fame. The pain is lack of fame, infamy, all this. Success. You take up some work. Success is a pleasure of it's a power. Success is a pleasure of the ego body. Failure is a pain of the ego body. So like this, basically the reason why I'm taking, making this, explanation is to elaborate on the model that Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita about the self. Because once we understand the model and the components in it, then very easy for us to, just like a doctor, if he knows the human anatomy and the interrelationship with different organs, if there is some problem, then he can cure. He can repair the machine. Similarly, we also, if we know this simple things, what Krishna has told about this body, about the senses, about the sense control and sukha, dukkha, then it is very easy for us to repair our own system as well as other people's system. It is not that the doctor doesn't get sick. Doctor also gets sick. He has to apply that medical knowledge upon himself. Nobody is spared from that. So similarly, whether youngsters or old people, whatever it may be, this system is operating. We all need a harmonious mind, harmonious intellect, harmonious social ego. You need a harmonious physical self. All of them finally has to be harmonious with the soul, who is the experiencer. And soul seeks a particular type of experience that is called Sat Chit Ananda. This is the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the teaching of all the ancient rishis, that the soul's nature is, it is Sat, Chit and Ananda. Sat means it is eternal and it has power of free will. And Chit means it seeks knowledge. Chit and Ananda means it seeks love, it seeks pleasure. We'll come to that. So the dualities of, so in the material world, in this world, the Atma experiences, all that it can desire Sat, Chit and Ananda. This image shows that the soul has three kinds of desires. Sat desires means it's the desires for power, security, survival. That is Sat. That's why I mentioned the security. A person who does not have any money, he's morning to evening, he's thinking about how I can, get enough money to live. So he's existing in the plane of security. Then there are, people who have all those things, but they were just, they have money, they have everything. They want that enjoyment of power in the society. That also, they desire power, money power, influence power. This is called Sat desires. Chitta desires, knowledge, desire for knowledge, and desire for intelligence. Very obvious, Why so many universities, why so many students are coming to you, your colleges, everything. It is all to satisfy their chit uh, desires, to learn, to educate themselves, right? Of course, in background they also know that unless I educate, I don't get a job, then I don't get my sat, my power of existence. I don't get power in the society, etc. So chit is also connected to, is motivated by sat, existential requirement. So, but not necessary. Chit by itself also, people enjoy doing chit. Not that people learn or study just because it gives them a job or gives them money. People don't do research just because they will get some fame. No, they love research. They love learning. They love discovery. The discovery pleasure is called chit desire, chit pleasure, chit rasa, chit rasa. Man wants sat rasa, chit rasa, anand rasa. So chit rasa is called this education, knowledge. They want knowledge. Ananda. Ananda consists of what? Happiness consists of loving relationships and also sense pleasures. This constitutes the Ananda. Emotional body and the physical body put together, their rasa is called Ananda. Intellectual body's rasa is called Chit rasa. And the ego body's rasa is called Sat rasa. So basically in this world we are always seeking Sat, Chit and Ananda rasa. Now is the question of harmony, harmonious. Everything has to be, as I said, the entire system is body, physical body is a system of organs, different organs coordinating together to keep the body standing. Similarly, what is the regulation? What kind of sat desire, what kind of chit desire, what kind of ananda desire, because these are all desire. Chit desire is for the intellectual body. Sat desire is for the ego body. Ananda desire is for the emotional, mental body as well as for the physical body, pleasure of the senses. Is it not? So they are all desires of different bodies. Now the ananda or the sense pleasure has to work within the umbrella of Atma's desire, holistic desire. If my senses take off on its own, go all out and enjoy, then I may be harming my chit. I may be hampering my sat, my chit. Everything get hampered. There has to be coordination. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, each of them are higher self. For instance, my love rasa and my pleasure of senses has to stay within the intellectual understanding of what all love and pleasures without hampering my higher self, my power, beyond that, without hampering my spiritual happiness. These are all happiness, these are all pleasures of the lower self. When it comes to spirit, it is a spiritual happiness. I cannot allow my ananda desires, that means the desire of my body and my mind, to sabotage the happiness of my soul. Who is me? That is my happiness. For a momentary, yes, you may give me happiness, my senses. It's for me only. I am only the experiencer. But if I adopt that in a long term, everything, my happiness is hampered. My happiness is sabotaged. So therefore it is, each of these desires, Satta, Chitta and Ananda desires that we have, has to be in harmony with each other. One is not sabotaging the other. Especially the lower one does not sabotage the higher one. Chitta desire should not sabotage my Satya desire. For instance, I like to research, but I don't like to teach, I don't want to go to college. Then how will you live? Who will give you salary? Then immediately you say, no, I have to research, plus I have to do some teaching also. I'll go and work in a college. Right? So just see how everywhere we do naturally in our daily life. As adults, we have all learned how to adjust with respect to our ultimate purpose. We do that. But it's not very obvious to a youngster. He has to be taught, he has to be trained. That training that the adult has got over the life out of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. He has necessity has made him understand that he should have self-control over all these things if he has to succeed in life. But it's not necessary that a youngster can understand all these things. If he's not guided, we as adults, over the time, it is called samskara. Samskara means habits. And you don't have to each time do an analysis whether this sense enjoyment is good for the total self or not. No, samskara means, it becomes very obvious to you, this I should do, this I should not do. I should not throw I should not enjoy my senses unrestrictedly. It's my samskara. Samskara again based on training. There is a higher objective there. It's like a norm, rules. You follow the rules. But those who made the rules have a higher purpose in mind to serve the follower of the rule. So my controlling my senses, my samskara is helping me only. It is serving me. When Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, control lust, and this is the way to control lust, he is helping me only. Me means my larger self, total self. So in this way, each part, the kinds of desires that we have, itself at desire level itself, there has to be a regulation. Okay, now having regulated my desire, I pursue actions. I take up chesta or actions to fulfill those desires. When I try to fulfill those desires can meet two situations: success and failure. This is a reality. It is not that all desire succeeds. Desire is there, it leads to success or it leads to failure. So, success or failure, how does it? Why sometimes we succeed, why sometimes we fail? There are two types of situations where this is where we bring a higher understanding of, because today if you see the whole young force in India and all over the world, they are so much into achieving success. Earlier they were just doing their duties. Maybe in your generation, you had to do your duty. And in the process, you became a professor, you became etc. But today's youths are not like that. They are after, so many opportunities are there. They are after, after success. Now, this definitely can create an imbalance in their psychology, in their entire system. And that is why the number of depression cases are increasing. Day by day, number of suicides are increasing in this country among the youths. Why is it so? Because they get so much obsessed with success that when they fail, they get so depressed. But this is not the way Bhagavad Gita teaches us to work. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us to work, karmane vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. The famous, verse in Bhagavad Gita says you have a right to perform your duty, but not to get attached to the results. Why? Why is he saying so? Because the results, every result is every result is coming out of a complex series of actions and reactions in the outside world. Your wish alone is not enough. You want a result in the outside world means there are multiple factors that are governing the outcome of that So if you get attached to it, rather Krishna's instruction in the Bhagavad Gita, which we have to teach our youngsters, is learn how to enjoy the process, not the result. So work is a great source of pleasure. If people do not learn how to enjoy work, then it is going to create so much boredom in life. Just like now with all this COVID, people don't engage themselves and don't relish work. Does not matter whose work it is. It may be your boss's work or it may be your personal work. But if you don't involve in work, it is going to create a vacuum. And that's going to create also depression. So this is another great message from the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that you relish the work and don't simply, because if you relish the work, result automatically will be there if it has to be there. If some external factors does not allow the result of the work to come positive, you cannot do anything about it. Which we'll discuss today about that also, about destiny and free will. Also we'll think this is also another very fundamental understanding that our youngsters should know today. That what is it that they can change about themselves and what is it that they cannot change about themselves. Today's self-help books, people from the West have crowded this country, and everybody thinks think big and make big. And those who have got good karma, they make it big. Those who have bad karma, they applied all the principles in that book, think big, and they never became big and they become completely depressed. They go to the psychiatrist. Number of psychiatrists are increasing in the country. Number of psychiatric patients are increasing in this country. Law of attraction, this thing, that thing. No consideration of the reality of karma. If I am in this body, if I desire to fly like a bird, I cannot fly. If I read some book and it says that no, 10 years you think, and one day you'll get a bird's body and you'll fly. Does it happen? It doesn't happen. I'll go under depression because I am obsessed with this that I will fly. So therefore, it is very important for us to understand in our country, we got a great treasure of understanding of life, that each one of us born with a destiny. That's why each one of us are different. The environment for each one of us are different. Nobody is born equal in this world. Everybody is born unequal in this world. Similarly, each of us have our own destiny. You cannot, within that destiny, you can, there is so much freedom is there. Just like if there is a cow tied with 100 feet rope. Within 100 feet, the cow is free. When it tries to go beyond 100 feet, it will pull. Life is like that. Every moment in our life is a combination of destiny and free will. And what does destiny define when we try to do something, when we want to be successful? If you want to be successful in anything, you need three things. This is what our Shastras say. Three things. Jnana, Bala and Kriya. Jnana is knowledge. Bala is different kinds of strength that is required, power. And then Kriya is a skill that is required to complete the job. For instance, let's say I want to build a house. My current reality, Adhisthanam, my current reality is that I have a site and I have some few lakhs of rupees in my hand. Then I have a vision. I want to build a house. I got 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, and I want to build a house which is going to cost 60 lakhs. Then I have a vision. Then vision minus current reality is what? I have to bring money, I have to bring architect, I have to bring contractors, then finally they have to laborers, they have to bring cement, steel from different places put together and then fill up the gap, and then you'll see that current reality becomes a final vision. So what happened in between the current reality and the final vision? Initial current reality plus Jnana, Bala and Kriya got added. The required Jnana from the architect, the direction, engineers, how to do it. Bala, your financial Bala, then the Bala, the physical Bala of the laborers, the intellectual Bala of the contract of the architect. All of them mixed together, put all together, you change the configuration of the site into a building there. Now this Jnana, Bala and Kriya that we have at each point of time when we have a desire is dependent upon our past karma. Means whether we deserve that sukha of having a own house. If it is there, then all the Jnana, Bala, Kriya will come. If it is not there, you will see that there will be a deficit of Jnana, Bala and Kriya. And success will not be completed. Will not happen. This is when one simply depends upon his own karma. And here is our scriptures in Bhagavad Gita talks about a great way of working. A different way of working. Instead of just working like we say, it is just depending on your karma, you know God in the picture, nothing. Another way of working is this. Now come to the model where above the self, there is a divine self in this body, Paramatma. Here, any desire is there, you offer that desire to the Paramatma. It is left to you, my Lord. I wish this. If it's good for me. Beyond my Jnana, Bala and Kriya that I am born with in this life. If this has to happen, if there is a deficit, with the help of Paramatma, you get the deficit Jnana, Bala and Kriya. This is the meaning of saying God helps those who help themselves. This is a fact. People who relate with God in this manner, they have experienced achieving things beyond their capacity, beyond their Jnana, Bala and Kriya. And they can sense it. This is definitely not my own strength. It's not my own intelligence. It's not my own skill. Where Krishna sent me this skill, I do not know how, but I did not have this. I never knew that such a person would land up here and with such a skill and get this job done. So these are all the things that God, proves that anybody who wants to live this kind of a life, God helps those who help themselves. And in case it doesn't fulfill, then he knows that's also good for me. Because I am surrendered to the divine self. Let him decide. How do I know that what I am desiring is good for me? So very often we are very short-sighted. We may have so many desires. We should not rely so much on our desires. We should offer our desires at the feet of the divine self. And then see what happens. If it's good for us, then that will happen. So either way, when you have this paradigm of God helps those who help themselves, and when you see that I am never living my life alone, I am living my life with God, with me. Just like in the entire Bhagavad Gita, how Arjuna fought the Kurukshetra war. He was always associated, because Krishna was with him, Krishna was guiding him. So with Krishna, he fought the war of Kurukshetra. Each of our life is also like Kurukshetra. If we have the divine self, this divine self, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita later on, when he says there is another divine self inside, he's called Super Soul, Paramatma. Then he tells Arjuna, Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata, completely surrender unto him, he says. So after he says all that, then he says, I am that very soul, super soul. I am that very soul, super soul. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshi Arjuna Stisthati. That Parameshwara is seated in everybody's heart. So that is him. Anyway, that apart, because we are talking about the just like self. Self is not a Hindu, self is not a Christian, self is not a Muslim, Christian, self is not any religion, self is self. Is it not? Sat is Sat, Chit is Chit, Ananda is Ananda. There is no Hindu Ananda, Christian Ananda, Muslim Ananda, no. If I pinch my pain, there is no American pain, Indian pain, Muslim pain, no, nothing. We are talking about the science of the self. So self means there is a divine self. We obviously know that I am not God, I am not the total divinity. I am a very small part of the entire existence. Just like I control this body, my little body, this entire universe, there will be a controller. That's why Ishwara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshi Arjuna Tishtiti. That Ishwara, Param Ishwara. We are all small Ishwaras. We control our bodies. Param Ishwara is there. That is called Paramatma. So, whether it does not matter which religion the person is, he has to have that connection with God, dependence on God, surrender to God, and not using God as an order supplier. Okay, we should surrender to him means, he is not an order supplier. If you so please, if it pleases you, if it is good for me, this wish is coming, fine. So it's not that God is being used to fulfill your wishes. It's a partnership together, okay, in the journey of life. Ultimately, I'll come to that because now we are talking about the different selves have different desires, and those desires need not necessarily lead to success. They can lead to success or failure. And even in that process, there are two ways. One is just depend upon your karmic account strength and succeed or fail, or you can surrender to God and then you can succeed or fail. If it fails also, you understand that I am connected with God and there is a higher reason why I failed. No problem. No depression, nothing. Happy. Do my duty, success or failure, I am happy. Keep going in life. This is mental health, very important emotional health. People who do not have God in their life or in some form, at least conscience. Let's say they have a higher conscience. That is also a form of God only in the heart. Higher conscience. If they don't have that, they will have definitely, or at least they don't have a sense of, truth is God or whatever higher principle if they don't have beyond one's self, then it is very difficult to have a balanced total personality. So this is about the one important factor which I wanted to touch upon today is about this, obsession with success. That is not the message of Bhagavad Gita. Message of Bhagavad Gita is be obsessed with the work. Enjoy the work, result will come. And that is very essential for our mental health, for sanity is very important. People become so this thing about, making money, and sometimes they get into problem, they commit suicide. There was no need for him to commit suicide. If he had sold all his assets, he would have been left with another 1,000 crores. But he committed suicide. Whoever it is. Examples are there. So this obsession with success, because mentally they become ill. So the understanding of the total self, how the lower selves should harmonize itself with the spiritual self is very important. That is spiritual science. It's not that my sense of happiness is spiritual happiness has nothing to do with my material self. Material self, yes, it does gives you an impact of sukha and dukkha. And you being above that, have to learn how to be happy. Means that is called spiritual happiness. So this subject which I have just told, I'll just complete this. See how in anything that we do, with the result, you have your own mind-body system. It has its own limited abilities. Intelligence is limited. Your virya, your tejas, your emotional body is limited. All these things are having. It's not that it can. Your intelligence can achieve anything. No, it has its own limitations. Everything. So you have a desire. When you have a desire, then you act based on the free will that you have to do this, to that, according to that jnana, bala, and kriya. You try to do it. That your jnana, bala, kriya of your destiny plus your free will put together, you get the success or failure on. That is one type of work. God is not in the picture. And even if God is not in the picture, people are succeeding, people are failing. That's a different matter. Now, the other way is depending on the divine self within ourselves, taking his help also, as we saw earlier, taking his help also in the jnana and bala and kriya from grace of Paramatma, we achieve results. So this is two different. This is just a model of how karma and karma, which puts us before destiny. Destiny limits our resources. Jnana is a resource, bala is a resource, kriya is a resource. So next, these desires, sat desires, chit desire, ananda desire, they can either give us happiness or they can give us success or failure. That is duality of this material world that cannot be changed. So we have to learn to deal with the reality of success and failure. Our mind has to learn. There is another thing which is lacking in the modern population, in the modern environment. They cannot take failure. In the childhood itself, when you grow, when the child grows in the family, the parent think that I should give so much love that I should say no, I should never say no to any of his desires. That means whatever he desired, give. He has never faced failure. He has never faced no to his desires. He is handicapped. Mentally handicapped, emotionally handicapped. Our traditional way of training the children was completely different. You may be rich to buy a whole country, but your children will be trained to be like anybody ordinary. Because that is personality development. So with this, some of the another very important point I wanted to. So far, I have explained to you this model of the self. So let me summarize. My lower body urges of my, let's say my sensual urges, should be controlled so that it does not sabotage all my higher selves. Similarly, my urge for love should also find a boundary such that, I'm talking about material love, I'm talking about divine love, material love, should be within the parameters of my higher self's good. My intellectual self should also, just like you see emotional self. Let's say somebody, a good friend of yours comes and you love him so much and he's in a big debt and he says, I need this much money. But then, you have budgeted your money just for your children's education or whatever it is, and you don't have that money to give. So now your intellect says, no, how can I do this? And your emotional body says, no, how can I not help him? See the conflict? The conflict has to be resolved by the higher self. Let the higher self take a call. So your intellect takes a call. Yes, this is it. You see, I cannot help you. If I help you, my children's education will get spoiled. So that way there is a control. Higher self controlling the lower self. I'm going like step by step. Then I'll come to how spiritual self. Then there is the intellectual self. Intellectual self, I gave one example already. If you just like to go on reading some subject and you don't do anything to eke out a real living, then you are going to suffer. So you have to control your urge for knowledge, you have to control that, regulate. I would say regulate, not control. Similarly, when it comes to social ego, you could not, you go on and becoming rich and, so much money and all those things. Then finally, what is it? Then the real question comes, what about myself? If I go on like this, what am I, my true self? True self is, who is going to, what is the solution for birth, death, old age? My social self just vanishes at the time of death. But I have to survive. I have to enter into another body. There is another life. Every action has a reaction. So I have to take care of. I am eternal. So my eternal self has to be taken care. So then you see, it starts there. The starting point of value system is the higher purpose of the spiritual self, because spiritual self is the experiencer, and therefore its experience is foremost. And its real experience of the spiritual self is, that's called yoga. Connection with the supreme self. Connection with the divine self. A relationship with the divine self. So that is very important. And that is where the Bhagavad Gita, when it comes to that, the 18th chapter, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo moksheshyam masuchaha. The highest religion is to surrender to God in your heart. It is not Hindu religion, this religion. All of them essentially teach that only, to surrender to the God in your heart. And if we develop that kind of a relationship with God, for that you need to know. You have to read, you have to know about, the characteristic of God that the scriptures reveal. There is no one equal to or greater than Him. He is the cause of all causes, sarva karana karanam. He is not a material personality. He is a divine personality beyond this matter. So these are some of the things that is very common to all religion. God is transcendental. Transcendental means He transcends this material nature. So we surrender to Him, develop the relationship with Him. So this activity which is beyond this material activity, ultimately our scriptures say that the goal of life is to realize our true self as a divine part and parcel of the divine self. That's why I started saying it is Satchit Ananda. Satchit Ananda means the fulfillment of Satchit Ananda. There is no question in that relationship. There is no question of Sukha Dukkha. It is pure divine relationship of love. At the same time, it is not that one does not have if one realizes that one does not have the capacity to deal with the material life. No, this is a big mistake. Material life can be made harmonious. You can live in this body yet have a divine relationship with God and love everyone as part and parcel of God. So with this, in the short time that I have got, I touched upon some of the topics which are very important from the perspective, if I have triggered some interest for you to study some of these models from Bhagavad Gita. And I'm very happy if I have achieved that. And this more, I can talk hours and hours together elaborating on each of these points. So thank you for your patience, for being here and listening to me. And now I shall take up any questions that you have. Thank you very much.